Hey, Facebook. It's Jerry coming to you today from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in beautiful downtown Hacienda Pinilla, the Paris of Latin America. And it's a beautiful day. And when I tell you it's a beautiful day, it's a beautiful day. I'm back at Rythmia. Excuse me. I was on vacation in Turks and Caicos for about a month. I got sick there with bronchitis. I'm living a beautiful life between both these places, between Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and Providenciales, Turks and Caicos. And we're going to talk today a little bit about Rythmia Life Advancement Center. It is, I think, the #1 life advancement center of its type in the world. Over 14,000 people. I'm coughing. 14,000 people have been through the doors at Rythmia, and 97.11% have reported a life-changing miracle during their stay. That's 971 out of every 1,000 people. Hard to believe, but true. And the better part of that is 90.33% at 6 months say that this was the week that changed their life. Changed their life. So what is so unique and what is so special about this place? Everything. It really is. It's beyond compare. But we use sacred plant medicine, ayahuasca, plus metaphysical teachings, breath work, the cleanse, meditation, great food, yoga, all put together into a real program. This place is programmatic. And because of that, the results can be replicated quite easily and consistently. In the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about a bunch of different stuff, basically from Turks and Caicos. And this is called, Sylvia? Medicine Thoughts #1, and there will be 10 of them. And in Medicine Thoughts #1, we're just talking about some things that happen in ceremony that come up continually to multiple people. So sometimes I'll talk to people, and I've talked to, out of the 14,000, I bet I've talked to 12,000 of them that have been through the doors here. And some of the stories are very consistent. Some of the journeys are consistent. Some are hugely consistent, like the death journey, the rebirth journey. They're very, very consistent. And all of them have similar themes that run through. And then they get less consistent as they go, but still very consistent, right? So the one thing that came up is the realization of how big a number 400 trillion to 1 is, and the fact that we are 400 trillion to 1. Hey, hon, my screen here is blinking. Do you think all of them are blinking? No?
I haven't received any.
Okay. I hope I'm not blinking there. It was just blinking on and off. About 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1, I believe, is the equivalent of winning Super Lotto 31 times in a row. That is how ridiculous that is. Now, if that number is not exactly right, and I believe it may be, it's in that neighborhood. It's ridiculous. So you are 400 trillion to 1 shot. You are a walking miracle. Your life is the hugest miracle. There's nothing you could do in your life that's a bigger miracle than being born you. There's nothing statistically you can do. So you've won the lottery over 31 times. You're the luckiest of the lucky to be given this life where we can touch and feel and smell. And that's one of the realizations. Now, having that realization, knowing you're so lucky, and then wanting to give something back. So some of us will see that we've been so lucky and we try to take more. Others try to give back. I feel from what I've seen that those who are trying to give back are having a happier, more content experience of life. Now, what I talked about in previous things was the likelihood of your continued life. So because of advances in technology and data, we can really, really, really accurately predict the lifespan of someone. There's 100 of these calculators on the internet, and the more detailed they are, the more accurate they are. How many years did you smoke? All these different things, right? But what I can pretty much assure you is that if you're alive and you're listening to this, you're going to live another 10 years. And if you're going to live another 10 years, what do you want that to look like? How do you want to walk through the world for the next 10 years? And then if you live 10 years, the likelihood of you living 20 is even higher. And then the likelihood of you living 30 is even higher. So the question becomes, how do I want to be here? Because Tuesday is coming. 2026 is coming. 2028 is coming. 2038 is coming. 2048 is coming. They are coming. So you start putting these data points together. I'm a 400 trillion to 1 shot. I'm living and I have the high likelihood of continuing to live. What do I want to do as I age? What do I want my life to look like as I get older? And I can guarantee you this, the things that you're doing today are absolutely going to affect what that looks like in the future. Absolutely. So people say to me, how do you stay motivated? I don't stay motivated at all. What I do though is I honor the agreement with myself, regardless of what's going on. And I'll give you an example of that. So about 6 weeks ago, I had stem cell injections in my joints, and I had to take 6 weeks off working out. And I'm going to start working out again on Monday. But it had been 15 years since I took time off. That's how religious I can keep my word to myself. Now, if you continue to keep your word to yourself, and the easiest way to do that is looking at life and knowing that you're going to get there and deciding what you want the there to look like. So in the beginning, it's work. As it progresses, it becomes fun. As you gain mastery, it becomes a blast in this thing that you picked to become a beneficial presence on the planet, because that's what it's all about, right? Now, as far as bad things happening to you, they're going to happen. Lots of them. Countless. Now, statistically, as you get older, more bad things are going to happen to you. By bad things, what do I mean? Well, the body wears out, friends die. That's something you start noticing maybe in your late 20s. That it's once now, and now as you get into your 50s, it's much more often. As you get into your 60s, it's more often. These things happen. Bad things happen. That banks fail and economies go bust and families have friction and divorces occur and bankruptcies occur and failed businesses occur. And these are all part of the experience. Now, I'll tell you a little trick I learned. I had an aunt who died, and I was young, but young by 60-year-old standards. I was 32 or something like this. And she was one of the most consistent, toughest, resilient people that I knew. And she died of cancer. And what I said to myself, because if you can take all of these things and really look at them and turn them into something positive, you win all the time. And that's not motivation. That's awareness and mental control, right? So what I said to her, what I said to myself after she passed was, because I really did like her a lot. I said, I'm going to keep that part of her alive because I'm going to accept it into myself. And that week, I took on her resilience, and it was my way of paying tribute to her throughout the rest of my life. And I still have it with me to this day, to this very day. So, like in acting school, whatever is happening, you use it to your advantage. So I saw this actor on TV, and he said he was about to perform, and somebody threw a chair on the stage, and he didn't know what to do. And the guy said, "Well, if you're in a drama, cry about it. If you're in a comedy, fall over it. So whatever life gives you, the objective is for you to use it to your advantage, right? So no matter what it is, you can turn it to your advantage because you can find that thing that will add to your own existence. Now, can you do that every day? It doesn't matter. As long as you're honoring the agreements to yourself, it's just part of it. That's icing on the cake, but it's a great trick. It's a mental trick to get things to work to your benefit. Now, as far as honoring agreements with yourself, most people do not. See, we're taught to do things. We're taught to live in the moment. We hear it all the time. Oh, live in the moment, live in the moment, live in the moment. Don't go against what your body wants to do. We're taught that. Listen to our bodies and do what our bodies say and all these things. So I can tell you this. Big corporations and government are dying for you to live in the moment. They want you to live in the moment. Why? Because when you live in the moment, you'll wind up dependent, broke, drunk, on assistance, dependent, because living in the moment. Now you can have a spiritual in the moment, but your physical shouldn't be in the moment, right? And they're always telling you to listen to your body. Well, if you listen to your body, you'll always be at rest. You will never diet because your stomach is going to say you're hungry. You'll never diet. You'll never work out because, oh, that hurts my muscles. So what I'm going to tell you is that this is a constant war in a way. It's a holy war where we are constantly trying to become better people. And you cannot do that by living in the moment, because living in the moment, I walk into Louis Vuitton and I want those sunglasses and I have $500 to my name and there's $600 and I somehow do it. Well, I lived in the moment. I did what I felt like doing, right? And that is not progress. That's not how to become a beneficial presence. And we can't teach our children these things. You know, the thing, we can't teach ourselves these things. So how do we start if we've never done anything but lived in the moment and listened to our bodies, right? We start with simple agreements. I mean, really simple agreements. Today, I'm going to, well, let's say I live in a major city, or say wherever I want to. I live on the west side, or I live in Santa Monica. And today, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk 5 blocks. And I write that agreement down and I sign it. And I'm going to do it every day until I can do more. And I honor that agreement. And then the second part of that is, while I'm walking, I'm going to recite a spiritual mind treatment, a proactive prayer, a prayer. And all of a sudden, I start doing that and I start honoring that. That little bit, that I call them little wins. That little win of doing what I said I was going to do starts to generate self-esteem. And as self-esteem is generated, there's my hawk right there. Oh my God, I saw this hawk has been following me. That's so crazy. As self-esteem is generated, we start to expand that list into what we can do and what we can agree on. And all of a sudden, we become really judicious in what we put on that list because we know that we're going to do it. And as we know that we're going to do it, the self-esteem keeps getting bigger and more and bigger and more and bigger and more. And the next thing you know, you believe everything that you agree to with yourself. You believe it. And you believe it before you do it because you've done it before in the past and you know that you're going to do it. So as you believe this, this self-esteem starts happening, and now you'll notice something else. Just like dogs and other animals will start trusting you. I'm just going to go with the lowest, not the lowest vibration, but a different vibration. They'll start trusting you, and then you will notice people start trusting you and following you. Why? Because they know that if you told yourself something and you did it, you could tell them something and you would honor it as well. And then your no becomes super important. See, when you don't honor any agreement to yourself, your yeses are everywhere because you won't honor agreements to other people. It's easy to say yes. It's an LA thing. Hey, do you want to have lunch? Yes. And it usually means no. We'll get lunch sometime. Yes. It's baloney, right? But as you start, and that's nothing against LA, as you start having this real dialogue with promise keeping to yourself, your promise to others remains strong, and they feel it. They feel it. So your no becomes super important because there's only so many hours in a day. And you will notice you find more confidence in people who say no to you than people who say yes to you. It's true, because subconsciously their no generates credibility. Right? So these are all little pieces, but these are things I learned up there. When I say up there, I'm pointing to the Maloka at Rythmia. These are things that were so simple, but nobody ever talked to me about it. So simple. These are simple things. So what are some of these things? Well, the fact that I'm alive, generally speaking, means I'm going to continue to be alive statistically. That tomorrow's coming, next Wednesday is coming, 2025 is coming, 2035 is coming, 2045 is coming, and how do I want that to look? And when I say how do I want it to look, I don't mean, although this is a part of it, what do I want my house to look like? Where do I want to live? What do I want to drive? That's a part of it. That's a part of it. More importantly is, who am I going to be? Who am I going to be in this beautiful dance of life? Who am I? What am I bringing to the table? And what you will notice is that the happiest folks, and I don't mean schoolgirls skipping down the street, temporary euphoria, happy. I mean real contentment, a baseline contentment. Then that doesn't change every day. That's not bliss. That's contentment. That's satisfaction, right? But those people who are giving are much more, on a by and large basis, are much more content than those who are taking. So if you can just be aware of that, holy God, what a thing! Because I meet a lot of people who believe they're not getting, and you can tell by talking to them, because they start telling you about ways in which they've been stepped over and they didn't get. So it's a mindset that they're conditioned to expect getting things, and that's the biggest setup for the greatest emotional failure you could ever have. Because that works out 10% of the time. So you're automatically destined to be unhappy, dissatisfied, and complaining 90% of the time. Instead of that, how can I give is a completely different mindset. What can I give today? How can I serve today? That all of a sudden now, if it's our goal, if we've written it down, that we're going to be this beneficial presence, and we're going to do it by being a energy healer, and we know that it's a 10-year thing, and we're in our process, then our life becomes the ceremony. Our quest to become that thing becomes a ceremony. People ask me all the time, what's a ceremony like? What's a journey like? Oh, it's a lot like life properly lived. It's a lot like a quest properly executed, right? Because it's the same thing. If you decide that you're going to do the hardest of things and become this beneficial presence, and you look at your map and you start following it, that is your journey. That is your hero's journey. So, by all means, participate in this. And one way you could look at it and decide if you're in the right place. And I know that I must, to 30-year-olds, I must sound crazy, right? But what a 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old can do at any moment is look at their trajectory. So just like in golf or tennis or any ball sport, when the impact happens, you can look at the height and the direction and get a real good idea of where it's going. Well, you got to do that with yourself. And that's called awareness, right? Is that I have to look at me and see where is this thing going, right? And you can be honest about it. Now, the good part here is that whether you want it or not, time is coming and you got to be somewhere. So you think you have a lot of options, but you really don't. Your only option is to participate in the best way you know how. That's the only viable option. There's options. Look at, I can sit on a park bench, drink alcohol out of a bag, put my hands out and hope to get money for lunch or whatever I need. And I can choose to live that way. But next Thursday is coming for that person too. And so is 2025. And so is 2035. So the thing is, see where you're at. Look at where you're going and make those choices. The choices are now. All right. Thank you for sharing time with me today. And by all means, here's 2 of my books, Truthonomics and Shit the Moon Said, which that's like an asterisk there instead of a T. And I suggest if you want a real quick read that can give you some real teeth for growing your business, your vocation, your community, your family, whatever, this is a great book, right? A real good book for that, if I say so myself. And by all means, get to Rythmia, because these awarenesses, and I got to tell you something, I have people from all walks of life here. And lately I've been getting a lot of billionaires. And they go through this experience and they are so grateful because it recalibrates people for the next 10 years. And you get dialed in and ready to go. Come here and experience what everybody's talking about. Until next week, thank you. And we will talk to you.